Well, the latest project on my bench is what is called a camp phone. Now, some people think that means it's because you're supposed to be taken camping, but that's not actually the case. This is named after Walter Camp. Walter Camp is best known as the man who invented the rules of modern football, and he was also a big part of the exercise craze of the early 1920s. So in 1923, he was asked to narrate a series of exercise records. You know, those things where, okay, everybody up, stretch your arms, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And this was a serialized set. So you would buy the set, and they'd send you one per week or one per month, whatever it was, until you had the full set. And as part of the deal, you got a portable phonograph called the Camp Phone, as this was the camp, exercise series. The Camp Phone made sense. It was an inexpensive machine, and you could play any records on it, not just, the exercise records. Basic wooden case. This one actually still has the handle on it and everything, although it is starting to separate a seam here and there, which is common. These were not top shelf machines. They were adequate for what they were intended, which was to take it to the park on a nice day, put the exercise record on, and follow the instructions, and all of that. And typical 10-inch record disc, you'd expect that with this. Not exactly sophisticated design, but as I said, adequate. Let's see if I can get this. I just had this off a second. There we go. Let's put that aside, and we can have a look under the hood in a moment. This is the speaker back here. Oh, the horn. Sorry, not speaker, the horn. And this is your tone arm. Now, there are pot metal parts in these, so if you do have a camp phone, you have to be careful not to crack them. These ones are in fairly good shape. I don't see any major swelling or cracking issues just yet. Of course, some of this, like the bracket back here, actually feels like cast aluminum. It could be. That's a very, very small horn. You can see the sound pipes through here, reflects out through here. Adequate. They're adequate. This is not a functional machine at the moment, so I can't play it for you, but I have heard them played and similar machines played. There's a nice close-up of the Camp Phone, the Health Builders of New York. Now, Health Builders ended up getting sued because apparently they trampled on somebody else's copyrights. And that came to an end about a year after this. But while it was going on, they were giving away quite a number of these, and I found a few. I have another one actually on the way, which is why this one's out. The other one's a pretty rough machine, but it does have a good spring and a few other parts that it can donate to get this one functional. This one even has a good reproducer. Sometimes that's not the case. Let's see if I can tip this up, and you can have a look at the motor, which is a typical Heinemann, and whoops, that. It has issues. I can see that already even without taking it apart. For one thing, either someone tried to take it apart themselves before and didn't put it back together right. You can see that screw is half out. I already know the spring is broken. Single spring in this. Fairly decent, robust motor for a phonograph this size. And nothing that can't be fixed. As you can see, there's I don't know if you can really see it in there, but I believe that is the typical Heinemann fiber gear in there. It's a sandwich of brass and fiber, which makes it somewhat stronger than what the Swiss had, but they can be problematic when they start to disintegrate. This one, however, looks okay, just from what I can see anyway. Nice little box they made. You can see that there's some issues here and here. All of which can be fixed. Some separation in the case corner back there. Again, this was not a top shelf unit. So very often you're going to find issues with the wood. Not so often with the motor, but it can happen as with this one. But of course also with the tone arm because of the pot metal. I've had one of the other machines I have, the tone arm is completely destroyed. It's just crumbled to a million pieces. I'm kind of hoping the parts machines is better when it's on the way, because then I can put two of these together. I don't actually have any records. Well, I have thousands of records. I don't think I have any of the Health Builders records. Although it's possible. I'd have to look and see. This, you can see where the album would have fit in here, and that's where your record album would be, teaching you how to exercise by phonograph. But I already took the screws out, so they were actually in there. I just removed them so I could lift the lid and have a look under there. See how they put it together. Not sure what wood this is, but I suspect it's probably maple. I'm not an expert on wood types past oak, but I think it feels soft enough to be maple. It doesn't really feel like oak. The grain doesn't look right for oak. It's hard to tell. Maybe under all that dark shellac it might be. I remember which cabinet company made these. Not a terrible job. You know, there are much cheaper machines than this, especially later on. Some of that stuff RCA was making, the cases were like balsam wood. You know, they were just coming apart. Nice hinge back there. The piano hinge is in really good shape. You know, like most exercise equipment today in any other era, I strongly suspect this was probably used for its intended purpose once or twice and then conveniently put aside. You know, I'm too busy for that today. You know, okay. And then you got a little needle storage here. See if I get that off. And, still got needles in there. A little rusty, but yeah, they're there. So somebody intended to play. A lot of these ended up, once the Health Builders record series ended, a lot of these machines ended up being used like any other phonograph. You know, playing jazz records or whatever. It's for normal uses. Well, that handle really is surprising. You very, very rarely see handles of this type as intact as this one is. They tend to crack and split and just crumble right off. If you happen to have a machine that has a handle like this, never lift on it. Never use it for its intended purpose. Just keep it as a nice display, because that leather is very old, it's brittle, it can crack and split and cause you to drop the machine. So just pick the machine up and hold it, you know, by the bottom like a box, and just forget it has a handle. Very, very simple lid stay on there, as you can see. And the reproducer design is not a bad one. Reminds me in a way of what would come with the number 4 Victor a couple of years after this. Let's see. Huh? You came out a minute ago, now you don't want to come out. Oh, there we go. Okay. I guess it would be kind of like that. Hopefully within a month or so we'll have this actually playing. I'm going to have to totally disassemble it and re-glue the loose joints and other parts. That will be job number 1, and then the reproducer is going to have to be rebuilt, because I can see from here those gaskets are hard as stone. Typical. But that is a look at the camp phone. I guess you could use it camping too. They did put a tree on it. And if you have any Walter Camp records you want to play, well, records narrated by Walter Camp. He didn't actually produce them or come up with the material. He just narrated them. You get one of these, and you can play it as it was intended.